have you ever had a conversation about a product, and then all of a sudden you see ads on your feeds, and then you're like, oh my god, Alexa is listening, right? Or my cell phone is listening, right? I mean, customer today expects transparency, right? I mean, that's a nutshell for them. Like Apple, for instance, made privacy a selling point. They did a huge campaign about we don't sell your information, where they ask you whether you want to allow an app to track you or not, right? It gave users control, which boosts trust, right? I mean, personalization is powerful, but there's a fine line between helpful and creepy.
Today, we are thrilled to welcome Alok Jain, a leader in CRM loyalty, digital marketing, and analytics, currently heading marketing analytics, CRM, and loyalty at Affordable Dentures and Implants. With over a decade of experience spanning roles at Driven Brands, Vision Works, West Marine, and Payless, Alok has deep background in crafting data-driven strategies that elevate customer experience and fuel loyalty. As a board advisor for top CRM and marketing conferences and a mentor to future leader in analytics, his expertise bridges hands-on strategy with a unique focus on personalization. We can't wait for him to share practical tips to boost CRM performances and design loyalty programs that truly connect. Welcome, Alok.
Yeah, no, good to be here, Chintan. Thanks for inviting me to be on your podcast, and happy to be here and love to share some insights and a lot of failures and the successes we have had over the years. Love to share those perspectives and hopefully can help emerging leaders and practitioners in this space and fuel their program. So happy to be here.
Great. I'm sure it will be helping all the marketers around the globe, leveraging your experience and your insights of gaining the experience into multiple domains in terms of clients and industries, and also leveraging and managing the CRM part of platforms for those particular organizations. So first of all, to start with, the major point I would like to start with or to discuss is building and optimizing the CRM loyalty programs, because that is must have a need which all the brands should follow. With your extensive experience across brands like Westmarine and Driven Brands, right? You have definitely worked on multiple loyalty programs that engage with customers. How can companies create a data-driven loyalty program that not only engages but retain customers effectively?
Yeah, so it's a loyalty programs are very near and dear to my heart because I know they really work if done right. Back in the day, if you think about loyalty programs, they were all about punch cards. Buy 10 coffee, get one free. Buy 5 car washes, get 6 free. Simple, but not exactly exciting. Fast forward to today, if you think about loyalty program, data is fueling all the loyalty programs or the majority of the successful loyalty programs. Take Starbucks, for example. They don't just hand out stars for your purchases. They analyze what you buy, when you buy, and in what locations you visit. So this lets them send hyper-personalized offers like a discounted frappuccino offer right when the temperature drops down or goes up in your vicinity, right? That's not just a loyalty program. It's loyalty programs have changed from those punch cards to a behavioral science execution in action. Going back to my personal experiences, a retailer I helped with refining their loyalty program, we noticed that there were a lot of high value shoppers that had specific shopping patterns. They might just stock up before big seasonal events, right? So we introduced tailored promotions around their buying cycles. The result, increased engagement and higher spend per visit. For one of my other clients, we segmented the loyalty program itself. We had, for this was for a voting retailer, I can get my words right, a voting retailer where they had people who made their living on water and people who had just, a hobby of being in a, riding in a boat, and the needs were totally different. The people who were, we call them pro boarders, right, or pro customers, they had different needs. They were actually buy stuff 3 weeks ahead of when a seasonal boarder or a day-to-day voter would buy stuff. So we segmented our loyalty program for our pro customers totally differently. Pro customers didn't care for gimmicks like discounts and points. They wanted to make sure they had the best quality product available at their location of their choosing all the time. So, and then they had the everyday discount available on their products so they know what they'll be buying. So we leverage data and insights to then manage our supply chain accordingly for these pro customers. And then, came up with the loyalty program that was built specifically for them. So it goes back to leveraging data and insights to develop your program. The key is to I think the in the nutshell, Chintan, I will say that the key is to make customers feel like that the program is designed just for that, right? If they think, wow, this brand really gets me, you're fine. So that's the key of having a successful loyalty program.
Definitely. Those insights are really amazing. I would also love to add up a follow-up question on that. Uh, let's say when you are evaluating loyalty programs for different brands where you have worked with, right? Which metrics do you prioritize to measure the success, and any specific reason behind that?
I would say, not all metrics are created equal, right? I mean, brands get obsessed with metric A or metric B or metric C, right? I think it just all depends on, what is the objective of your loyalty program, right? I have, like, for example, a brand like, let's just say Walmart as an example, right? They have a Walmart Plus, a loyalty program. For them, like, they want to look at loyalty program not as if it's driving, an incremental visit or not, because people buy groceries at a very, frequent, for them, the metric is whether it's winning the share of wallet in the categories that people had not shopped before, or is it driving more convenience? So is it increasing their satisfaction level with the brand, right? So I think but for a brand that is not high frequency, it could be a driver to drive, incremental purchase. It could be a driver to drive incremental basket, right? For me, I think if you ask me for like a brand that has, 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 purchases in a year, the metric that I obsess with in that scenario is it driving incremental trips from my existing shoppers? And then the secondary metric I look at, is it helping me retaining my customers? So is it helping me keeping my file more active, or the metrics I obsess it? Like, I think added order value is probably a byproduct of that, that kind of comes along. But as long as I'm able to engage customers in a way, but then again, it goes back to other things we talked about, right? Like, if I want to leverage my loyalty program to get people into new categories where they have not purchased before, right? I think it just all depends on what the objective is. But I really don't like to have, metrics that are not revenue driven as a function of the loyalty program. Like how many people are logging on to the website, or how many people have created the account. Those I think are all maybe tertiary metrics that you want to look at that then, fuels up your primary metric, which is it driving more revenue down the road or not?
Definitely. So yeah, it's good advice that we should not always run behind a metric which everyone thinks is lucrative for the program, but something which should be associated with revenue, right? As you have mentioned, that your metrics should always be towards the revenue. It might not be just revenue as a metric, but which helps you to derive that, okay, what is the revenue you are at least going to bring in at the end of the overall program, because everyone is running behind revenue, right? We want to make sure that the loyalty program gets the best out of the customers, right? And then it's not always about just being helping the business, but also helping the customers, right, who are receiving those messaging and communication. So if we are able to add some value to our subscribers and customers, that is definitely going to be a different game
Yeah.
which you should think of.
Yeah, I think as I said, like at the end of the day, it all depends on what the objective of your program is. As long as you are clear with the objective, I think the metrics, it's easy to define metrics. I think what happens is a lot of organizations that I have helped with or have been exposed to, they just don't know what the loyalty program is for. They just have a loyalty program for the sake of it. But if you're very clear that this is what I want my loyalty program to do for me, then the metrics part becomes easy. But if you are confused about that, then it could be all over the place.
Definitely. I know you've given multiple examples on the loyalty program, but throughout your journey and career, you would have seen various loyalty programs which were already built or which you would have built, right? Can you share an example of a change that you have implemented in any loyalty program in different organizations you have been part of, where based on data-driven testing and customer feedback, you were able to achieve the results which were desired for that loyalty program?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think we had actually started to do that at several places where if you think about like AI is talked about now, right? We had actually started to leverage AI, back in, 3, 4 years ago when it was really a major thing, right? Like which it has become with the advent of ChatGPT in the last year or two. We had been using AI for personalization purpose in our loyalty programs, even beyond that, right? Some of the things that I implemented in the loyalty programs I had been a part of is being the context and understanding the customer's real need and leveraging AI. So I think being the context and coming up with the offers or context or products that we think customer are really going to need by anticipating their need by leveraging AI in a way where it had become possible versus a lot of like in the past, if you look at like a lot of product recommendations were built on if you bought A, then you are probably going to buy B, right? What if the customer's already bought B like 2 months ago, right? What if customer was now buying, additional A, right? In this example, right? So I think leveraging AI because it has the horsepower to mine unstructured data, and it has horsepower to look at the context of the customer and then can learn from this wide variety of data, whether it's coming from the website, whether it's coming from the in-store purchases, whether it's coming from offline purchases, but then also it can mine the trend in the market. It can look at the weather trend, so many things. Like you can look at so much unstructured data. So I would say like, brands should really embrace and really look at leveraging AI in a way where it has become possible for us to be more personalized, be more in the context. Every time we have launched this, Chintan, we have seen double digits, like high double digit gains in our engagement, in our retention rates, just because we were able to make customer feel like we really are listening to them and we really care about their needs. So and then they reward us by shopping at us at a higher frequency or with a higher ticket. So I would say like for my past experience and for the people who are for the marketers who are thinking about evolving their program, and I would say my suggestion would be to embrace AI in a way where you can really be personalized in a way that you've never been before.
Definitely, yeah. So we all are talking about AI because AI is a buzzword now, but looks like you have been leveraging it quite a long time, right? So you have been using it into your uh, day-to-day routine in managing your loyalty programs, and that already we are able to see that is giving you results, right? As you mentioned that you are able to see a double-digit growth, right, in terms of the metrics, right, be it engagement metrics or anything. So great to hear that. And now, as we are talking about AI, would also love to get more thoughts from your end on, as you are a part of and leader of CRM and analytics. You know the challenges and opportunities AI presents, right? Because
Yeah.
you have leveraged it for quite a long time. For companies starting out, right, what are the essentials they need to understand about data ethics, or to ensure customer trust and compliance while leveraging AI?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely that the data privacy is critical to making sure, right, that the data you're collecting is ethical, right? As long as, in my experience, as long as you set the right expectations with the customer that we're going to use this data to do X, Y, Z, which needs to make sense for the customer, you really would have very less, pushback from the customer, right? Because they know that, you're gonna use the data to make their experience better. You're gonna use this data to make sure that their recommendations are more relevant and so forth, right? So, I mean, I would say like data privacy is obviously huge, right? We gotta make sure that all the data is collected ethically, but as long as we're setting the right expectations with the consumer or the customer on why or how the data is used, you tend to get very less pushback. But at the same time, you gotta have a process in place where if customer has indicated that they're not comfortable with that, then you gotta really not use that data, right? Like, I mean, personalization is powerful, but there's a fine line between helpful and creepy. Like if you think about, like, have you ever had a conversation about a product, like, and then all of a sudden you see ads on your feeds, and then you're like, oh my god, Alexa is listening to me, right? Or my cell phone is listening to me, right? I mean, customer today expects transparency, right? I mean, that's a nutshell for them. Like Apple, for instance, made privacy a selling point. They did a huge campaign about, like, we don't sell your information. They ask you, like, whether you want to allow an app to track you or not, right? It gave users control, which boosts trust, right? A client I worked with in the membership space needed to restart their data sharing between two businesses, and we had to ensure that customers knew how their information was being used. So transparency and value exchange were key. Customers were key, right? And customers were willing to share their information and data if they saw how it benefited them through the tailored offers and better services. In all of this, the golden rule: don't just take data, earn it, and make them feel like they didn't make a mistake by giving you access to their data.
Definitely. So yeah, I believe transparency is the key, as you mentioned, and respect the data, right? If they are giving that consent by sharing the data, we should respect it and not just breach their privacy. So definitely a good insight. The next major concern, or the point which we should definitely leverage your experience around, is uh, omni-channel customer experience, right? Because implementing a CRM, implementing a loyalty program definitely sounds like easier thing to manage, but making sure that you have a omni-channel experience across different channels, right? You are managing or omni-channel customer experience, right? Across multiple messaging, which we are managing, how to manage it. So would love to get your thoughts on how do you approach creating a seamless omni-channel experience that
Yeah.
keeps customers engaged, whether they interact online or in store? Because I believe you would have definitely worked or would have managed integration of CRM on multiple channels, be it InvestMarine or previously at VisionWorks.
Yeah, for sure. I think about this a lot. Did you ever have that frustrating experience where you look at a product online and visit the store and the staff has no clue about your online interaction? Happens a lot. It's very common. That's the opposite of omnichannel. Like, brands claim that we're omnichannel, but I have had experiences where, I buy something online, which is basically dropship product. And then if I want to return it to the store, they have no idea what to do with that product because they don't even sell that product in store. I think Nike does it right. I mean, their app tracks your browsing history, lets you check stores, let you check stock in nearby stores, and even gives you QR code for easy checkout when you're around. That's seamless integration because you can actually do the purchase online, just show the QR code, grab the product, and then you're on your way. A client I worked with in the specialty retail sector, they aim to unify the in-store and online experience. They linked the customer purchase history across all channels. They also took the browse history and then made that as part of the customer profile that the associates at the front desk in the store had access to. And based on that, store associates could offer more relevant recommendations. They knew that customer Joe and Doe was looking at product X when they're browsing online. They could then make an, or they bought the product X when they were on their most recent online purchase. They could easily make a style recommendation that goes with their product X, right? We were also in some cases feeding what based on these interactions what customer could be looking for, and then we empowered associates to take those recommendations and be like a personal shopper for the customer, right? So imagine like imagine having a friend with you that knows what you have browsed, what you have purchased, and then knows what you like, what you don't like, and then making recommendations of that. How powerful is that? Because a lot of friends that I take with me, they have no idea, and they're like, "Yeah, this looks good," but they have no idea what colors I like, what colors I don't like. That's why omnichannel is such power. If done right, it changes things. It changes things completely. It makes a shopping experience completely different in a better way. But again, it all goes back to leveraging data and empowering your associates to use them in a way that has not been used before, and which requires significant investment, right? It requires significant on the systems. It requires significant on the investment on the training. It requires investment on the associates' time in helping the customer, but it completely flips the game. Like I don't want to shop anywhere else when I know if I'm going to go to this brand, they're going to treat me and they're going to know everything about me, and then provide me recommendations or help me out, in a way that I have never experienced before. So I think that's kind of the key. And it's just, as I said, it's just not about tech. It's just not about having the omnichannel point of sale system that has all of this information. It's about making the life easier for our customers wherever they interact with your brand.
Got it. So it's about making sure that you do things right, and making sure that you try to also leverage the data, because data-driven decision making is always going to make a big impact. Now, when we are talking about omnichannel experience, right, a seamless omnichannel experience for the customer, how do you measure the impact of this omnichannel approach, right, when on a customer engagement and satisfaction, to ensure that it's adding value, right? It's at least giving some result to both the brand and the customer.
I think if you think about it, like it all goes into like retention rate, right? Like it all goes into like conversion rate. Like it could be a variety of metrics, and in a nutshell, is it helping you? Is it helping with your NPS score, right? Like that's the first starting point. Like is it helping make customer feel like they are satisfied with their experience in the store? People go rant about if they don't find a product, if they have bad experience, right? But if it's done right, they respond positively to the service as well. And one of the brands that I have helped with their omnichannel experience slowly saw their NPS went up as soon as we started making their experience feel more personalized when they are in the store. Retention is another key metric, based on the channel experience, and then more multi-channel shoppers, right? Like gone are the days where people were buying in store and, or it online. I think the world has truly changed, especially post COVID, where the experience is on the channel, where you start your journey on the website or the app, and then maybe you convert in store, right? So I think if brands stop looking at like the in-store and online and think of that as an omni-channel, right? Where it doesn't matter where you start the journey, it doesn't matter where you convert, but as long as the experience is seamless, that's critical, right? So I think if brands start looking at their overall retention, their overall NPS scores, and then their overall conversion, that I think are the good indicators and KPIs that you are doing your omni experience right.
Yep. So yeah, that's a good insight. I'm not sure if that or the brands are aware about direct mail, but the next question I have is around direct mail. Direct mail is surprisingly researched as a part of omnichannel strategies, right? Uh, have you integrated direct mail with your digital strategies yet? And what's your take? What is your opinion around direct mail?
I'm actually a huge fan of direct mail, and I know even though post offices are making it difficult for marketers to keep direct mail because the postage is going up every year, but I think direct mail has a definite place in the marketplace. I mean, people think direct mail is outdated, but let me tell you, it works. It works in a way that has never been seen before in some other channels, right? We tested direct mail for one of the brand I help in the B2B space and paired it up with the email campaigns. The response rate 10x higher than the email alone. Physical mail stands out in the digital world. It's tangible. Like 20 years ago, when you went to the mailbox and you had like 40 direct mail pieces stuck in your mailbox, it was like email 20 years ago. Like when you open up your mailbox in the morning, all brands that you have engaged with and are opted in want to talk to you, right? Because you are on their daily email list. They want to tell you about the sale of the day. They want to tell you about the deal of the day. They want to tell you about why they love you, all those sort of things, right? So as customers switching through 40, 20, 15, 10, however many brands you engage with emails every day, it's really taxing on your brain. And then more often than not, you do a mass delete, or you think like you're going to come back to it later, and which you never do. So that was direct mail like 20 years ago, but because how the direct mail has evolved and it has become a little bit of a rare occurrence for the brands because they can't afford it anymore. For the brands that really do it, it really stands out in the mailbox because you don't get 40 direct mail pieces. I hope you don't get 40 direct mail pieces, but you get very few, and then it stands out. It's tangible. But the magic is the integration. It needs to be part of a strategy. You don't want to do a direct mail just do for the sake of direct mail. You want to have like a multi-channel campaign. It works really great for grand opening. It works really great for winning back. It works really great for customers that are not engaging via other channels. It works really great when there's like a multi-channel strategy for a specific action that we want customer to take. So if direct mail done right, it could really have a really lasting impact. One of the other mistakes I see a lot of retailers do is they measure the performance of direct mail at a campaign level. What I mean is they could have like a 8 to 10 direct mail campaigns in a year, 5 to 6 direct mail campaigns in a year. They would have a holdout group, and then they would measure the performance of direct mail based on the holdout at the campaign level. Now, they're like, well, we have this much incrementality in the campaign, but if you think about it, it's the incrementality. It's not an incrementality of the direct mail. It's an incrementality if somebody gets 5 campaigns versus 6 campaigns, because this person who is part of the holdout, they got all direct mail campaigns except this one, right? So you're not really testing the incrementality of the direct mail. You're testing the incrementality of somebody receiving all direct mail except one versus somebody receiving all direct mails during this specific time frame. What I encourage brands and my clients to do is look at the direct mail at the year level, at the 6-month level. Like if you stop, you may not see the impact of, if you cut direct mail, you may not see the impact of it in the next campaign, but you will for sure see the impact of it as the time goes by. All these high value customers that you are thinking are going to come no matter what, they're getting marketed by other channels, especially in direct mail, because prospecting is easier in the direct mail world for the high ticket retailers. They're being prospected by other brands, right? So if you stop the direct mail and then they start their relationship with other brand, you lost, customer worth thousands of dollars just because you don't want to do the direct mail. So multiple things of this. Direct mail really works if it's done right. It needs to be part of a strategy, not just one-off. And then while measuring, you need to look at the direct mail results for a longer duration, not for a campaign basis. You need to look at direct mail results if done and not done for like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months versus one-off campaign. So for marketers who are in 2 minds about direct mail, I strongly encourage you to consider direct mail and test it. Start small, and because it really shines given it's tangible.
So, in your opinion, marketers should definitely leverage direct mail as a channel and definitely not miss out.
Yeah, I think if you are not doing direct mail, you're missing out, especially for a brand that can get the messaging across in a direct mail. Like maybe for some brands, it may not make sense, right? Like for a
Yep.
fast food, I don't know how much it would make sense for a fast food, but for a brand that really needs to tell the story in a meaningful way, it could really help you shine in retaining customers and winning back customers.
Got it. So, with your background in marketing analytics, particularly at driven brands where you worked in past, right? We would love to know what are some practical techniques for segmenting customers or identifying behavioral trends that companies can apply right away.
That's a good one. I think again, it goes back to leveraging data. I think segmentation, I think, is both a science and an art, right? I think you said a few specific that they can apply, right? I would say if there are different stages to it, right? If the brand is not doing any segmentation, the easiest way to start into segmentation is by just breaking up your file into new customers, active customers, and lapsed customers, right? If you just do that, then you got like 30-40% way there into segmenting your customers. If you are already doing that, then very simply you can bring in frequency as a component, right? I'm sure all of you or a lot of people have heard RFM as a component, right? So if in the maturity curve you're doing no segmentation and doing total batch and blast, right? Segmenting your file by RFM is a really good and meaningful way to get into segmentation. If you're already there, if you're already doing some kind of like some segmentation, then having some kind of behavioral metrics in there is going to be really meaningful, right? A brand I helped with, they had like it was a healthcare brand, and they had a component of insurance, they had a component of family, they had a component of like age, So adding those behavioral components, as long as you can define them and you can message them differently in a meaningful way, you can bring those behavioral components. But again, leverage data to tell you how those segments differ in a way that's meaningful, right? Like you don't want to just segment for the sake of segmenting. You want to let data tell you that these type of customers behave differently than those types of customers, and then you can let data tell you what are the different attributes of those segments, and then, but don't go overboard with that. Only use attributes that you can use to message them differently. If the messaging is not different between your segment A and segment B, there's not really a point in segmenting your database. So, and then if you're already there, if you're already doing that, then leveraging AI to, even do microsegments, right? And then leveraging AI to do the really dynamic personalized messaging. There are a lot of texts out there. I'm not going to name anybody here because, that would be like, I've used so many of them, right? I won't be able to name all of them, right? And I may be doing disservice to others that are also like, I'm going to name it. So, so there are so many texts out there where you can also, take microsegments and then leverage AI to then personalize the message in a segment for those segments, right? So that if you go from like typical brands have like 6 to 8 segments, right? If you go from 6 to 8 to 600 to 800 segments, then you have like a personal assistant in a way of AI that can help you personalize the messages for you, and then that can also help you break those segments from 6 to 8 to 600 to 800. We call them micro segments. So as I said, like I don't think there's one size fit all. I think it's a journey. It depending on where the brand is in the maturity curve of their segmentation. What I would say is if you are in two minds of segmentation, I would say absolutely do it or absolutely test into it, because if done right or if done a little bit right, it could still help you get more out of your file. Because as we all know, we're all consumers or customers ourselves. We don't like brands, that their messaging is not relevant, right? So even though you go from one segment to like 4 segments, you're hopefully closer to, messaging being a little bit more relevant to those segments versus it being, not relevant for majority of your files. So that's what I would share. And then the results, you definitely see higher engagement once you go from batch and blast segments. Granted that your messaging is meaningful among those segments and not just same messaging among those segments.
So definitely, yeah. So the context of the pointers you've shared is segment is a must-have, yet you should not ignore, right? You should at least do segmentation for your brand. And then the other area is once you're done with segmentation, make sure that your different messaging relevant to that segment rather than just having a common message for all segment and doing, because there is no purpose or benefit of doing that. So we at Mavlers are also helping clients where if they are needing a segmentation, definitely the active subscribers or active customers, right? Inactive customers are basic segmentation, but then the RFM model, which you mentioned about, that recency, frequency, and monetary, right? That three aspect is definitely a key area for e-commerce brands to segment in the right way. And instead of having a different uh, messaging on different channels, or let's say one channel, we normally recommend them to have a dynamic content block. So you have a single
Exactly.
campaign, but then that content block changes the content based on the segment. So
Exactly.
you can connect with the brand, you can connect with the customer, give that feeling of personalized level. So yeah, good insight, Alok. Moving forward, would also love to get insights on the performance metrics, because I know that I don't have a CRM loyalty program. I'll implement it. I don't have segmentation. I'll try to build a segmentation today with your suggestion and insights now. Then after doing all these things, the key area is leveraging the performance insights and also getting the customer insights, right? Or performance metrics. So with your background in marketing analytics, particularly at driven brands, we would love to know what are some practical techniques or tips you would love to give in terms of CRM performance, right? So as we discussed about segmentation in past, right, few minutes back, would love to
Yeah.
understand what is the performance metrics the brand normally should focus on. So it could be, let's say, open rate, it should be click rate, right? It could be anything, right? But what are your
Yeah.
secret metrics which you feel like should be obviously seen every now and then to track overall success?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier as well. Because I love this question a lot because, if you have the right KPIs, the right metrics, that generally is an indication that you have the right strategy. And obviously, having the right strategy is critical for driving business success, right? I mean, the metrics and the KPIs, the way I think about this, they're all not created equal, right? It's not like, you do these three and they all have equal weightage, right? They have some weightage, right? And maybe some is higher, one is higher weightage versus the other one is lower weightage. Brands get obsessed, as you mentioned, like open rates and click rates. I consider them as vanity metrics. Especially in the world today where because of Apple MPP, you don't even know. You're in a lot of cases. I mean, platforms have come around it a little bit, but in a lot of cases, people don't even know their true open rates and click rates because they're there are AI and clicking the links in the email to make sure that they are malware protected, right? So open rates is gone because of Apple, right? The click rate is gone because the AI is clicking the links in the email to check for malware. Then what do we do, right? So I think I focus more on the revenue driving metrics, as I talked about earlier, right? It could be for an e-commerce player, it could be what kind of sessions I'm driving to the website, what kind of conversion I have, what kind of drop-off rate I have, what kind of bounce rate, how much time I spent on the website. What's my conversion? What's my ticket value? So those were the key metrics. The ultimate metric that I love most is the customer lifetime value. A client I work with in the specialty retail space focus on the customer lifetime value rather than one-off purchase, because even though you are some specific actions that the customer is taking may not result in an immediate purchase, but if that helps in increasing the customer lifetime value, that's a good outcome, right? An example could be, if an in-store, if they're an in-store segment, right, and then you give half of the file an offer for in-store purchase and half of the file you gave them offer for online purchase, right? You could assume, right, like if somebody purchased, if one person converted from both segments, that it's okay because they both converted, they both spent equal amount of money. But I think that the action or the outcome in this case, if somebody was in store and now they have become multi-channel consumer or customer, that I think has a much higher impact on the lifetime value. So I think marketers do tend to get, tangled into looking at the one-off purchase and looking at the one-off conversion, which I'm not discounting that that's critical. But I think looking at the customer lifetime value and how you are increasing customer lifetime value over time, I think gets you out of this day-to-day grind of checking and making sure that the outcome is resulting in a purchase, but maybe the customer could take actions that are additive to increase their lifetime value, but may not result in the purchase right then and there during that campaign. I mean, the best CR metrics aren't just numbers. They tell a story about customer behavior.
Definitely. So yeah, it's not always about open rate and click rate. It's about metrics which gives you indication that the customer is moving towards a purchase or the revenue, because that's the goal of
Exactly.
running the CRM. Now,
Exactly.
as
It may not happen in that case, but it may happen later. But if there are indicators that they took the right action, then that's a victory.
definitely, yep. So it's about forgetting the open and clicks, but at least if they are visiting your website, the traffic on website from email as a channel, that should be your
Correct.
indication that your marketing or messaging is working in the right direction. Um, Moving forward, as someone with a finger on the pulse of CRM, right? Because you have a vast experience into CRM and marketing analytics. What trends do you see shaping the CRM landscape in 2025, right? This current year, and how should companies prepare to stay ahead?
I think, totally out of cut if I don't mention AI in
Yeah,
this for as an answer on this, right? I mean, CRM is evolving fast. Like AI-driven chatbots, first-party data strategies, and deeper personalizations are the future. One big trend I would say is machine learning, right? That we talked about this a little bit, and people kind of use it, they get it, but I think or I think AI-driven personalization, right? It's just not reacting to the customer behavior, but with the benefit of AI, as we talked about earlier, brands are able to predict, what's next. It's like knowing a customer is due for a tune-up before they actually do, right? Like knowing that the customer is going to show up on this day before customer even knows that they're going to show up on this day, right? The brands that leverage AI in 2025 and beyond will win. So I would say, as we talked about earlier, like not to get yourself be scared of AI, but embrace it and leverage it in a way to help you design those experiences, because then the technology affords you to design those experiences that has never been done before. So I would say one big trend is obviously how do we leverage AI. The other thing I would say is that it's a fine balance, right? Like how the AI is obviously is here to stay and is here to help us be better on how we design those experiences. But the human touch is even more critical, because you can't have computers and machines do these things themselves, right? Like having a human eye, but I think the role of the human has changed in this case. In the past, human was more on the execution side, but I think the one big trend is where AI is doing a lot of automation and then the execution task for you, but having a human or a marketer that can focus on the true strategy and the true experience design for the customer, right? So I think those are the big trends that I would kind of watch out for in 2025 and beyond.
definitely. So AI is definitely the key, and you mentioned about machine learning, LLMs.
Yeah.
That leveraging that could be one of the key areas which might excel in this year. Now, this we talked about the landscape which is getting changed in the CRM, but there are also brands, right, who are just starting out to build out their CRM capabilities, right? What foundational steps would you recommend to avoid common implementation pitfalls for a brand who is just planning or starting to build out their CRM capabilities?
I think having the right data infrastructure is key, right? It could feel daunting at times, but having investing a little bit early on in having the right data infrastructure helps you a lot in the long term. So anybody that's starting, I would say I would recommend them spending a little bit extra time on making sure you have the right data infrastructure. You have thought of all the data you're going to need for, or majority of the data you're going to need for, running your campaigns, running your CRM, is kind of critical because it avoids you a lot of headaches in the long run. The other component is, having the right partners as well is also critical. A partner that understands your business, that is invested with you in a strategic way. Clinton, we have worked with, Mavlers and Upwards in the past, and I would say very proudly that you guys can bring that to the table. Is if somebody's starting up, having the right partners is critical to make sure that they get your vision, right? So having the right infrastructure, having the right partners would be the good first steps from the foundation perspective. And then I think the third thing I would say is have, buying from a leadership, start testing, start small as you go into it, and then completely reiterating, right? It's like I call CRM as building a recipe, right? You got to keep tasting it and keep iterating on it before you get the best, tasted, product or out there, right? So somebody that's starting, don't be afraid of testing, test small, and learn from it, and then completely evolve. CRM must not be a set it and forget it strategy. CRM must always be evolving over time because customers' needs, customer landscape, customer mindset changes over time, customer expectations changes over time. Like, for example, going back like 10, 15 years ago, people expected, that the shipping will take, 2 to 5 days. But with the Amazon, right, people get their products in hours now, right? And that's the mindset that the customer has. That's the expectation that they have on all brands, right? So as you're starting with that now, I don't know what's going to be like in 3 years from now or 5 years from now, but continue to evolve your program, continue to evolve your strategy. Don't ever, put it in a set it and forget it module. So those would be like a few of my wisdom on somebody who's just starting their CRM program.
Got it. So yeah, it's more about having a right infrastructure, right partner, and constant iteration, right, which is the key, which the brand should definitely focus on, or to make sure that they avoid those common pitfalls. So great insight, Alok, and thanks for sparing time. It was really great having you here, and those suggestions and insights which you shared based on your journey so far in the CRM. I hope many of the marketers would be able to leverage it and would be cautious whenever they are implementing any CRM or loyalty program for the brands.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me, Chintan. And as I said, happy to be here. Hopefully, some of those insights would be helpful for the marketers across in this space. And good to be talking to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok.